Hi, my name is Doel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on the Urban Worm Bag version 1. Now, the last video that I did on my Urban Worm Bag was the second one, and we did a harvest from the bottom, and we're going to do the same thing on this one. We haven't harvested from the bottom in a while, and I did just add a lot of bedding from my Vermibag. So I added, remember, I don't know if you guys saw, but on my Vermibag I took out a ton of the bedding off the top. I added an entire massive amount to my Urban Worm Bag version 1 since they both have red wigglers. I didn't mind mixing them. And now the worms are starting to churn through that, and I want to start doing a harvest from the bottom, remove some of the material, let all that material from the top fall down a little bit so I can add food and kind of get it going. And at the same time, I'll give you an update as to how that is doing after, I guess it's been about a week maybe since I last added all the stuff to it. So it looks like it's doing pretty good, but I'll let you be the judge when we dig into it. So with that, let's go and start doing our harvest. All right, well, let's start here. We're going to open up the bin and first take a look on the inside here. Sorry if I'm blocking some of the light, but we'll come around the side here. So here's our Urban Worm Bag, version 1. So first thing off, lots of moisture on the lid when you're looking at this here. I mean, there's just a lot of moisture on this lid, it looks like. So you can see that all that dry bedding is now wet. And I'm not seeing any fruit flies come out of here. So this system has just been amazing, really, in a lot of ways. This thing right here, obviously I refreshed it. So you can see nothing really in there right now. Some worms down there, though. I'm going to move that off to the side just for now. Now let's just take a look in here real quick. You can see nice healthy bedding material. Some worms in here. Not a whole lot, but nice and damp. This looks really good. You can see actually a couple of them. Hold on, let me just see if I can see my camera here. I'm having trouble. There we go. So you can see there's some worms in this system. On top, remember we did add that shirt in there. That's going to get chewed apart as well. No worries right there, especially as we throw some more stuff on top. This bin does have, if I can find some in here. Let's just see. This bin does have a lot of crawlies in it. Here we go. These little guys right here, whoops, that are on the tip of my finger right there. We've got a lot of these guys in there, these little pill bugs or whatever they are. There's a ton of them in here, and they really work their way through this material as well. They're a composter, they're good, so I'm not too worried about them. But overall, this system looks pretty good. I mean, this bedding is moist. It's not like saturated, but there's worms in it. I mean, like, you can see right here, there are worms in this system that are coming through here, no problem. They're coming up around the sides, around this right here, around this shirt. There's more paper underneath this shirt, but they will work through all of it. I mean, like, I have found this system to just be phenomenal. I don't think I need to add any food to it right now, but if I did, I'd probably want to pick up from this corner and add right underneath this shirt. As you can see, one of these little pill bugs right there, one of the little baby ones. But I could add, and maybe we will after this, we'll see. But we're going to do a harvest from the bottom first. We're going to drop this down a little bit, hopefully, in the process, but hopefully we won't get too much where it's actually falling out of here. But we really we need to do a harvest. We need to have this kind of fall down a little bit, freshen up. There's a lot of moisture on here. Hopefully it's not dripping onto the ground. But no, this bin looks really good right now. So I'm not worried about it at all. I know some people are like, oh my gosh, all I did is create a problem in this bin. No, I'm not. I did not create a problem in this bin. This bin is just a phenomenally working bin, and it works incredibly well. I've had zero issues with this one really since I got it up and fully working. And I added a lot more food to this than I do my other systems because this one I don't have on video very often, so I can just add food whenever I feel like it needs it rather than having to wait till, I've got to get up my video stuff. So with that, let's go underneath and let's start doing a harvest. And again, I'll leave this video open on the top so you can see what happens if it drops down or not. So let's go underneath. All right, here we are underneath the system. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to open this up. It goes around the other way. Now, just so you know, I think I told you this before, but before I do anything on these systems, I vacuum around here. Now this is the version 1. This one's a lot harder to open a lot of times. Because you get a lot of stuff right down here at the bottom. Look at that. We already got a plug coming out of here. Looks pretty decent. So this material looks pretty good. fairly broken down. Actually a worm in there already, but looks pretty decent. We have some of our shirt strings coming out here from shirts that I've thrown through there. We've got some of our plastic from the shirts as well. This material, it's a little moist, but it does flake apart. It's not too bad. I don't think we'll have to even put this through the sorting machine. There's a couple things in here maybe that need to break down a little further. Of course, we've got our mango seeds. They take a long time to break down, but they look pretty good. I could probably throw them in the yard. So overall, this looks really good, this material down here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to flip this. Actually, we're going to turn this around this way. Hopefully you can still see in there. Looks like it. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip this back, and we're going to reach in here and try to get more of this material out. This is really compacted here at the bottom. I haven't done a harvest on this in a while. Part of it is because of these shirts. These shirt strings are just everywhere in here, and I haven't really done a good job of cleaning them out. Let me just take off this this watch I've got on over there, because my hand's probably going to get pretty dirty doing this. All right. We're going to reach in here, just move some of this stuff out of the way. There's a lot in here probably. And this stuff, unlike my Urban Worm Bag version 2 when I harvested, this one does have some worms in the bottom, but this system has so many worms, it's not even funny. And there was still stuff down here for them to work on, so it's not surprising that you find worms. Now, I'm sure this is moving around a little bit on that upper camera. Again, as I said, there's lots of string down here. All right. Now, one of the other tricks to these bags that I've learned, got lots of string. These plastic strings from clothing, they need to come out of there too. They're stuck on my gloves though now. All right. So with this though, there's another trick that I've learned with these. I'm going to take off my glove here for just a minute, and that is these bins sort of stick out on the sides, and sometimes what you need to do is you need to sort of almost push in, kind of push everything towards the center so that we can line up and fall down. And you know, if I didn't have these poles in the way in the camera, I'd actually would get in here and basically just hug the system almost, it looks like. And you just sort of push it all in, and that kind of gets it to the center so that way you can pull it back out. There's a little bit of moisture as well. That's okay. But the key is just loosening it up from the sides so that way you can kind of get your hand in there and just dig it out, because this is very compacted here at the bottom. All right. Oh man, these strings are, this is the only problem with some of these shirts. They say 100% cotton, but they are not. They've got these polyester strings running through them that do not break down, and they just get in the way of everything. There we go. Whew. That was hard to pull out of there, especially with gloves. It's sliding. Now it's stuck to my gloves. Just pull it off there real quick. There we go. All right, let's reach up on this other side here. Just going to keep pulling stuff down. And this bin has just taken a ton of food and a ton of everything in here. I throw everything in the system that I can. So it really gets a variety of stuff. You know, not just food, but as you see here, these shirts that I throw in and pants. You know, all sorts of different clothing that I throw in here that are worn out where I can't donate them or fix them. So we're just going to keep digging out here. Yep, and we're starting to get some of our food here now. So this is the problem that I have with some of these systems. I'm going to throw this back in the top right here. Here's some unprocessed food. So I'm just going to throw that right in the top there, along with a little bit of these worms that I've got there. And to see if there's any more in here. I'm not seeing too much more. Looks like that was it. I really need to probably push in these sides and probably do another harvest in here eventually. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull down these strings that are coming down. And see if I can get a little bit more on these edges. These edges are hard to get sometimes. They really get compacted. And you want to make sure, by the way, you do not load up the zipper with stuff. I'm actually kind of loading it up a little bit on this side. That's going to make it really hard to close this later. So you really want to try not to do that. Oh, I'm making a mess out the back here. Didn't realize that. But we've almost filled up this tray about, probably about halfway. I'm going to come around to this side here. Move this tray back and just get in on this side a little bit here. And I'm using my hand on the back side to support this so I get a little bit better grip in the sides here. As I said, it's pretty compacted. And there we go, we're getting some of this out. I'm using my fingers and digging in here. And we're just moving it along. Try not to just get the middle. That's a habit on these bins, is just, or these bag systems, is sometimes you only harvest the middle, it feels like, and you leave these sides just loaded with castings. So harvest has been a little bit harder than I thought. Should have probably harvested this a little bit sooner. That's okay though. Just trying to clear around this outside section. All right, I think that's good for now. We're just going to finish pulling out these strings and we'll put this back together and we'll see what the top looks like. I haven't taken a look yet. So that's pretty good. We harvested a good amount, which I'll show you up top what this looks like in just a minute here. But I think that's a pretty good amount right now. So the next thing we want to do is we really want to make sure you have your zipper outside, make sure it's kind of degunked if you can. And we're going to close this back up. So we're going to put this zipper up like this, and we're going to close it back up. If we can. There we go. And I try to use my clean hand when I'm doing this, so that way I don't get stuff all over the zipper. There we go. Now, when you're doing this yourself, it's a little bit easier when you're not trying to show other people and stand in the way of a camera. Because right now there is a little bit of a mess behind here. And almost shut it all the way here. Sorry, I got to reach in front here. There we go. It is shut. And here is all the castings that we harvested out of here. I mean, this is a pretty full container. Let's bring this up top and take a look. All right. So I'm just going to sit this in here. As you can see, this is a fairly full container. There are some things that, like this sock did not break down. I was hoping it would. But, you know, not everything breaks down in here. I guess there's less cotton and more other stuff. On these peanut shells, I've had these in here now for years. They were over a year at this point. They still look pretty brand new. I don't think they're really breaking down that much, although they do feel a lot softer now. So, but I mean, you can just see this material in here looks really good. Breaks apart pretty easily. There's a couple pieces of plastic, of course. You know, so this stuff's been in here for a while. It's a little bit impacted, but it still just crumbles right apart. This is ready to already be used in the yard if it was, you know, I mean, I don't mind having these not eggshells, but some of this stuff end up in my yard. The plastic, no, the peanut shells, those are fine. So, but overall, this looks really, really good. Material looks nice and ready, and this can be just put in my other system, storage system, pretty much, except for these strings. I'll have to get all these strings out in the plastic pieces, but other than that, it's ready to go. So, as you can see, these aren't too bad to harvest. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move this off to the side here. Let me grab it underneath so I don't get mud all over it. All right, and let's just see. It didn't look like this collapsed in at all, but you can see, now you can hear it now. You can hear that collapsing in now as we move it around. And you can also dig in from this top side as well. Now you can see there's bedding underneath here. There's lots of bugs. What I'm going to do, I think I am going to put a feeding in here. I don't know when the last time I fed it was. Let me just grab a huge thing of food and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. I've got my frozen food here. I've got some cantaloupe from, this is actually from my garden. I have some mango skins, banana peels, clementines, all sorts of stuff in here, bananas. So this is a huge amount of food here. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to just pull this up and go like that. Break it apart. And you can see I've got avocado shells in here. I've got some carrots, coffee grounds, all sorts of stuff. So we're just going to grab it like that. Move it around a little bit. I am going to throw some grit on there. Give me just a second to get my grit. So I've got my grit that I make here. This is a crab and eggshell. Throw a bunch of that on top. I'm not going to add any water. There's plenty of moisture in this bin, considering the fact that the lid was wet. And what we're going to do here, we're just going to kind of move this to the center as best we can. Cover this with this shirt. And I do this quite frequently here with this one. And then I just cover it with bedding. I just move a ton of bedding on top, just like this. It's okay that it's up to the surface here. It'll fall down eventually. It's going to sit there and work its way down, but we're going to kind of cover this up best we can, like that. I'm going to put my little container of stuff to trap fruit flies over here on the side, and actually we're going to just kind of move this around, make sure that it's nice and flat because I don't want that to collapse over. Because if this collapses over, that will cause some issues in the bin. I've had that happen before, and essentially you have to replace all the bedding in the bin. So that's it. Oh, here we go. Here's one of these guys. These are the ones I was talking to you about right there. See that guy crawling around? That's the bugs that I've got on here. So I've got lots of them in here. That came from, by the way, if you're curious, they were not in my basement to start with. They were not in the systems to start with. What happened is I actually took some leftover stuff from my dad's house, and I added it to one of these systems here because he was getting out of worm composting, and in the process they sort of made a home in here. So, but they're good composters, and I haven't had any issues with them. They never leave this system, it feels like, so I left them in there. So that's my update here on my Urban Worm Bag version 1. So this one's been going for many years now. It has been a very successful system. I highly recommend these systems. I do have the Vermibag and the Urban Worm Bag going. So, if you have any questions about them, let me know. And I do have links below to purchase these if you're looking to buy one. So, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments if you have any questions on these systems. So this one's been absolutely phenomenal for me with how often I actually load this up with food. And there's times where I've put in 3 or 4 containers like that in here. And it's just slowly worked its way through it until it's ready to get reloaded again. So, as I said, thank you for watching.